want to start off first with just getting your perspective on the recruiting process. How has it been in your eyes? Has it been fun? Has it been stressful? I mean, how have things gone from mom's point of view?
From mom's point of view, it started off exciting, um, but as time has gone on, you almost seem to um, kind of stay on your p's and q's because it's almost like you're hearing the same thing from different people, but in different ways.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah, makes it so as you go on, and this is one of the, I think one of the essential roles from parents is helping their sons kind of figure out, okay, you're hearing the same things, which one is genuine. So how have you as 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 his mom been able to separate, all right, this is real, this is fake, this is genuine, this is not? How have you done that?
I've been able to do that in telling my son like dating. Pretty much you're dating. When you meet somebody, you're not gonna automatically know if you like them unless you spend time. And it's the consistency for me to let me know if you are interested.
Mhm. Mhm.
So that has been the best way for me. And then before you marry a person, you always even if you're dating and planning to marry somebody, you always try to get to know the family. And those that try to get to know the family are the ones that we know that's serious.
Right. I got you. I got you. All right. So before we get start talking about specific schools, as you've taken him a lot of places, commend you for that, because you took
Thank you.
him a lot of places well before
Yes.
the officials started, so he can have that information.
Yes,
As you
sir.
as you guys sort of hit the visit trail, what were you looking for in these schools as his mom? I'm going to ask him what was he looking for in a school, but what were you telling him to look for? What did you want him to look for in these schools as he evaluated them?
As he evaluated, one of the things that I looked at was the education. That was first and foremost for me, was the education components. What do they specialize in? Even though it was multiple schools, alumni was important because, of course, you want to be able to connect with um, former people that have attended the school, and that's a network in itself. Meaning that he wants to do business major entrepreneurship, so network is important. Um, we looked at the schools, what the football organization, what the changes has been, transferring. How many transfer did they get out the portal? How many coaches left, or what was the reason for them leaving? So we looked at it in a broad spectrum, and then of course when we would be driving, I had my son put the phone down, pay attention to your surroundings. Can you see yourself here?
Mhm. 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 Okay. All right. So, with regard to Michigan, I mean, you guys have been here so many times, I've lost track. I've,
Yeah,
I've lost
I
track.
think we're on the second hand.
Definitely on the second hand for sure. And
Yeah.
so, that you get a feel for a place. At the
Yes,
same
sir.
time, I start to wonder. So he took his official visit last weekend, and that was just a couple weeks after he came up to camp for a
I
workout. So
know.
yeah, so I found myself wondering, what was he looking to see different, or what did he see different in this final visit that he took? So I could throw the same question to you. Like, what stood out about this last visit you guys took? What kind of stood out about it?
um, I would say this time what stood out is we were able to be around other recruits and their parents. So you kind of got a chance to maybe talk to other recruits, family, to see what it's like for them or what it has been like, and just see if the stories are kind of aligning. Because of course gone and visited several schools, and things have been told to one parent one way and the other parent a different way. Um, so this visit, we got a chance to do that. So we were able to sit and talk to other parents. Um, OV is OV. You're gonna get the best food. You're gonna get the best of the best for OV. So I had to try to tell my son, even preparing for the first OV, don't look at it that way. See who's genuine, who's consistent. Um, and Michigan has been that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So it's hard not to see the connection that you guys appear to have formed with Ron Bellamy. So give me your take on Coach Bellamy? What's the connection and the vibe like with him?
You know, I tell everybody, Coach Bellamy almost seemed like a brother. He was like talking to him almost like me talking to a little brother. I mean, even though we not the same age, but I still call him my little brother. And I call him Uncle Ron. So that's why I like even my friends be saying if I say something, they be like, "Oh, Uncle Ron," because they know that's who I'm talking about. Um, but it's been because of course he's been consistent with my son as well. So it hasn't been okay. I'm gonna call you when I see everybody else starting to reach out to you. He was calling and reaching out when everybody else wasn't.
Mm-hmm.
So he's been consistent with that. And Andrew, I've seen my son with some people he kind of shut down on, but I see him still communicate with Coach Ron. So that makes a difference as well.
Okay. All right. And so the other piece that I could even see going back to that first camp at Wayne State, they really seem to not just bond personally, but they seem to bond over football. It's like it really seems like Andrew has taken to his coaching style. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, I would say that because if he could, if there was a camp, he can always be there at camp and get some direction or instruction. He would. Uh, from him. So he does like his coaching style. And I guess, it's like I share with anyone else. You can't coach and teach everybody the same. You have to sometimes meet people where they are. And I think that's where Coach Ron have stood out. He has met Andrew where he is.
Okay. So what about some of the other coaches? I mean, you got to interact with all of them. Let's start with the offensive coordinator, Kirk Campbell. What was your
Yes.
impressions of what were your impressions of Coach Campbell?
Um, Initially, when we met, probably a couple of weeks back when we were there, we really got a chance to sit down and talk and look at his style of play from when he was at a couple of his former schools. And so we saw that he was okay with throwing the ball.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, that's what we're looking for. Of course, we were kind of hesitant because Michigan was not known for throwing the ball, but it was like, okay, hey, we're willing.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I had to get to realization of it's just like anything else. And I think I told my son years ago, NFL used to be running, running, running. Well, now if you look at what's being drafted, are receivers. So everybody is adjusting and adapting to this new style of play. So I said, with a new head coach, it could be the same thing.
Right, right. So speaking of the new head coach, what about Coach Moore? What are your thoughts on Coach Moore?
Coach Moore, I think, won my heart on Saturday. Um, my son, we had dinner, of course, and this was very personable. But for him, like standing out, talking to him, and my son, like we're from Texas, so we don't have where we are in Houston area. There's no big fireflies or lightning bugs, whatever you call them, flying around. So talking to Coach, I spotted him, and then I told Andrew, and Andrew's like, "Wow!" And for him and Coach Moore to step out outside the porch on a more personal level, and they were out looking at him and admiring him together. That made me admire him even more.
Yeah. So clearly, there's a comfort level with this coaching staff, but Andrew has big time offers all over the country with big
Right.
time programs all over the
Yes,
country,
sir.
and some of them, Mom, are closer to home. Your Oklahomas,
Yes.
your
Yes.
Texases, your Texas A&Ms. So that
Yes.
begs the question: what about the distance factor for Michigan? 'Cause mamas don't like their babies going far away from home. So what about that piece? What about the distance piece as far as Michigan is concerned?
You know what? I would have to agree. Mothers do not want their babies to go far. I want him to have the best. A&M was pretty much, if you look at it, I have a daughter that graduated from A&M, so that was the school that he grew up saying I wanted to go. However, the former staff were not aligned with him, so it kind of put a bad taste where he fit. Um, Even though they have the new receiver coach, it didn't close the door to them. It's just that still the relationship that was already forming with Coach Bellamy. And then Coach Wiggins still have a good relationship with him. It didn't close the door for them, but it just kind of made it hard. And so while Andrew still has not just solely shut the door, even to Texas, he hadn't shut the door. But of course, um, consistency matters.
Mm-hmm.
It matters to him just as well as it matters to me.
Mm-hmm. So did you? So let's say, for the sake of argument, not saying he's made his decision, but let's say for the sake of argument that he chooses Michigan. Have you gotten to the point where you're comfortable with that? I mean, you've made the flight a lot of times, a lot of times now. But
Yeah.
have you gotten comfortable with making that trip with that distance? How do you feel about? How would you feel about it?
I've gotten comfortable with the trip, and I noticed it's less than 3 hours. They do have nonstop. Um, so yeah, I'm comfortable with it.
Okay, all right. So as you look at the next step in the process, I wonder what the deliberation process looks like. I mean, you've armed him with information. Do you
Hmm.
feel like he has enough to get ready to sit down and make a decision, or does he feel like he needs to take more visits before he makes a decision? How do you think that's going to go?
I think Washington kind of creeped in by way of Coach Cummins because Arizona was one of the first schools to offer him, and he kind of had a relationship with him while he was at Arizona, but had no real interest to attend Arizona. Uh, so I said we would do another visit to look at more of the surrounding, not just where the school is located, but the Seattle in itself.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but again, it still comes to relationship
Mm-hmm.
and consistency.
Now, I know he had talked in the past about um, coming to Michigan's barbecue. I mean, is that on the table for him?
That's still on the table.
That's still, so that would be what, number 8, number 7?
Yeah, that's already in the plans on the book uh, to be there at the big house for the barbecue.
Okay, all right. So let's do this, Mom. I mean, we talk so much about Andrew as a player. Tell us about him as a young man. I mean, I hear the pride in your
Yes,
voice. I see the
yes,
way he carries himself. So
yes.
clearly, you have instilled some great values in him. But what can you tell the people about him who only read his recruiting profile and don't know him as a young man? What can you tell us about your baby?
My baby thinks he's the man of the house but I had to tell him he's the man of the house in training. Um, yes. Um, Yesterday was 10 years anniversary of his father's death. Um, so he pretty much felt like that. I'm a step in dad's shoes because his father was the man of the house and took care of everything and everyone. So he have a lot of his father's traits,
Mhm.
um, as far as trying to make sure his family is good, his family is happy.
Mhm.
Um, I'm from down south, so respect is major for me. So um, I applaud him even as my kid because um, sometimes when I get, hey, he's very respectable, or he was constantly yes ma'am or no sir, that's big, and he takes pride in that himself. Um, he's the only boy and have three sisters, have a twin sister, so he feel he's the protector of everyone.
Mhm. Mhm. So, twin sister, are they talking about
Yes,
going to school together, or are they talking about going to school apart?
apart. She wants to major marine biology. Um, so she said the schools that he have offers doesn't have the research programs that she's looking for.
Okay. Okay. So,
Uh,
yeah, I hear that. Blaze her own trail and chart her own course.
Absolutely.
I hear that. I hear that. So,
Yes.
another consideration for every student athlete, prospective student athlete, especially one like Andrew, is NIL. So, how have you approached that part of it in his recruitment?
Wow. Um, we have not made that the number one. However, it is one of those things of I always tell him to know your value and your worth
Mhm.
and stand on your value and your worth. Um, so that's the part where we are. Um, Nobody, I don't think anybody is really going to school saying, "Hey, I'm just happy to be here." Um, so it's really of how much do you value me? Where do you see me?
Mhm. Mhm. I hear that. So, timeline for making his decision. At one point he was really sounds like he was talking about waiting until the into the fall. Is that still in the plans? Does he have like a timeline for when he'd like to make a choice?
Um, he's pretty much wanting to do his announcement in reference of honoring his father. Um, of course, he was always adamant about Veterans Day, but as things are kind of changing course, I'm not sure if he's going to wait for his father for Veterans Day or will he do it his dad's birthday, which is in August.
Mm, okay. So you said Veterans Day. Dad was a vet.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. All right. Well, um, this is a joy to watch, a joy to witness how you guys are navigating this process. And certainly, I feel vested having seen him before he was this top 50 player in the country.
Thank
So
you.
it's great
Yes, sir.
to kind of see the journey and the rise, and to see him still be like the same dude. That was the thing that struck
Yes,
me
sir.
when I saw him at the camp. He seemed like the same kid he was the year prior when I saw him at Wayne State.
Yes, sir. And I appreciate that. That's important because never get ahead of yourself. Um, there's always something that can humble you, and I always tell him that.